All right, everybody. Before we dive into today's episode, we're brought to you by a few fantastic brands that sponsor this show. The first one is Routine. Now, this one has been a sponsor for a long time. If you haven't tried it yet, I don't know what you're doing because I've been talking about them for years. But ultimately, what was Routine designed to do? Well, when we sleep, we lose between a pound and a pound and a half of water, mostly just from sweating, something I learned when I first met these guys. Each packet of Routine comes with half an organic lemon, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and no sugar. I always like to say it's really just 3 ingredients. It's lemons, it's apple cider vinegar, it's Himalayan sea salt. I dump that into a glass of water first thing in the morning, rehydrate myself. The days I have it versus the days I don't, phenomenal on the days I do. It's one of those products where you feel it immediately. You know when you don't have it. Trusted ingredients, made convenient. These guys, they're the bomb. I love working with them. I've loved supporting them over the years. Give them a shot if you haven't already. Go to yourroutine.com. You can use code ShaneWhite30 at checkout for 30% off your first order. They're also available on Amazon. You can go there, get on subscription. That's what I would do. Get a 30-pack, throw it on subscribe and save, get it once a month. If you like to have more than one a day, or if you share it with folks in your house, you're probably going to need it more than once a month, or get 2 bags a month. Both of those are great options. You can save up to 15% every month on Amazon with Subscribe and Save. All right. Our next guest, holy cow, they have been a guest, but our next sponsor is NeuroRoast. Today's episode is brought to you by NeuroRoast, a company that's dedicated to helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. NeuroRoast's flagship product is their premium mushroom coffee, which is made with an organic single origin coffee and their signature blend of 5 different functional mushrooms: cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, turkey tail, and chaga. Mushroom coffee is a new and exciting way to supercharge your day. Unlike regular coffee, which can cause jitters and crashes, mushroom coffee provides a more balanced and sustained energy boost, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. And with NeuroRoast ground and instant coffee options, you can enjoy the benefits of mushroom coffee wherever and whenever you need it. And here's some great news for my listeners today. NeuroRoast is offering an exclusive discount code just for you. You can use code ShaneWhite, that's just Shane White, during checkout at neuroroast.com to get 30% off your order of NeuroRoast mushroom coffee. Whether you choose the ground or instant option, that's just Shane White for 30% off your purchase at neuroroast.com. And all right, we actually have a new sponsor on the show. Couldn't be more excited. Love these guys. They are also out of Chicago. I have worked with them, supported them, actually invested in them. So if you can't tell, I love these guys. You do now. It's called Haywell. And for any of you who know me, you know I'm into energy drinks. I'm into caffeine, sometimes to my detriment. And Haywell has honestly been a great alternative, not just caffeine or caffeinated product, but it's been a product that I've been able to use at nighttime too, because they have a calming line as well. But really, Haywell, I'll read this to you guys. Modern life can be hard, but your wellness shouldn't have to be. Being well doesn't mean being perfect. Getting fit doesn't mean you have to fit into a mold. We need a reminder that little more joyful steps can add up to something truly meaningful. We can do hard things, but that doesn't mean we always need to be so hardcore. Wellness is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. They created Haywell to be a simple invitation to a new movement for modern wellness where all are welcome, where small steps can add up to something big, where you get more high fives and less side eyes, where you have more fun and less frustration, where flavor and function are equally famous. Wellness doesn't come in a can, but we can help. They've created a line of low-calorie, functional beverages that taste delicious and help you be a little more well in every mood and moment. They're equally proud of creating a more welcoming, realistic, and joyful flavor of wellness culture where more people feel seen, supported, and inspired to embrace a wellness journey that truly feels better for you from the beginning. Haywell is here for you from rise and shine to relax and unwind. Ashley and Britt, like I said, the co-founders of Haywell, I've worked with them for a while now, and they're just unbelievable people. If you guys want to try their products, go to the link in the bio. As I'm recording this, I don't have a discount code, but I'm sure we can get one for you guys. So take a look at the link in the bio. You can go to haywell.com. You can also go to Amazon. They're on Amazon, and it's a great place to get it. They're also available in Target. You can find them in Foxtrot. You can find them in a lot of different places now. They're doing a great job of getting distribution. But I would say the 2 easiest places, livinghaywell.com. If you just Google Haywell, you'll find that pretty quickly. And then also Amazon. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Here's today's show. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. I'm pumped today. I got 3 people on the podcast. I think I've only done this, I don't know, maybe once or twice, so I'm pumped. It's going to be good. So we got Kiva Dickinson, Rachel Mansfield, and Jordan Carpenter, the co-founders of a new brand called Cadootz. And I didn't tell any of you guys this before, but I have 3 under 3, and I was reading your, the reason you guys started this brand. And I literally, me and my wife have like a daily conversation about like how many snacks are we cool with the kids going, like we'll cook complete breakfast and then I turn around and the 2 boys have gone in the pantry and grabbed 10 I'm like, I don't know, but we try to keep it healthy. We try to put some stuff higher up. It doesn't matter. Like they just have snacks constantly. So anyway, I just want to start with that because I feel like when you launch this brand, I'm like, I feel this so much. I need like a healthier alternative to what they eat.
We had to put a lock on our pantry door.
So tell me this one before I did that. We did that, but the 2-year-old, he will just like hang from it and scream. He's like, I know it's locked, but I'll scream until you open it. I'm like,
I know. I also just feel like if you leave food in your pantry though, that like you're comfortable with your kid eating, it's like, all right, whatever. Like by the time like our youngest is 3, and I don't know, 3 under 3, man, that's kudos to you.
Respect.
Not really. We had 3 under 4, and that was wild. But like if you keep food in our pantry, like our kids, like we want them to eat. So I almost feel like them having like the exposure and the access to it is almost like reverse psychology sometimes, where like they know they can get it. So sometimes like they don't want to get it. But
oh, okay. No, that might be good advice. Well, if you guys ever figure this out, we'll have to have a sidebar conversation. So let's go back to the beginning. Cadootz, if you guys don't mind, I know there's 3 of you, so whoever wants to jump in, would love to give the audience today, we have a lot of CPG consumers and just people from the industry that listen to this podcast. Would love for you guys just to give a little bit of a background into each of you quickly, and then I'll dive into kind of the overarching, background of you guys. But just to give everyone kind of a context of who you are and why you guys started the brand.
You want me to go first? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Mansfield. I am a food content creator, cookbook author, investor, mom of 3, and the co-founder and co-CEO of Cadootz Snacks. I've been in this space now, or this industry, for over 10 years. And I have immense passion for feeding you and your family food that tastes good but makes you feel good.
Love that.
Sure.
Jordan?
Over to me. Hi, I'm Jordan Carpenter. I am one of the other co-founders of Cadootz. My career did not start in food. I kind of got here because of Rachel inspiring me to make the jump over. I started my career in finance and accounting at a couple different hedge funds based out of New York. Actually, COVID kind of opened my eyes to getting a front row seat to what Rachel was doing every day and actually enjoying work. And I was like, oh, wow, you could actually have fun and do something that you love to do that could also be work. So she actually pulled me alongside to help her run her business in the background. And then we started investing in brands, as Rachel mentioned. And then now we have our 3rd baby, Cadootz, here.
Congrats,
our 3rd baby alongside our 3 human babies.
I get your hands full.
Yeah.
Love that.
I guess we like 3s over here.
Yeah, no joke. And Kiva, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm my day job is an investor in healthier products across food, beverage, wellness, beauty. This is the first company outside of my investment firm that I've been a part of starting, and really it was born out of a friendship and partnership with Rachel and Jordan that we've built together over the past 5 years. When I first kind of joined this industry out of private equity, I actually started following Rachel to learn about trends that were happening, products that I should have on my radar, and then years later started investing alongside of them. Working out what was interesting, working out how to, amplify these companies that we were a part of investing in together. And eventually, honestly, what started out as kind of co-investors became friends and now feels honestly more than anything like family. That happened through watching them welcome children into their lives and then having me welcome my daughter 2.5 years ago. And through all of these conversations and looking at what we should invest in together, the pain point kept coming up that I'm sure we'll talk about a lot today of just there being not any brands that offer on the kind of shelf stable snacking side of things what the 3 of us thought were the standards that a modern brand should look for and the standards that we as parents look for to feed our kids. And so, when Rachel and Jordan brought this idea to me to be a part of starting something rather than just be an investor. It really inspired me to jump in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for all the backgrounds. I think it's helpful for everybody listening. It was cool when I saw you guys share the news of you launching this, because I don't feel like you see this too much, where you have folks who have found a career path and some success in like adjacent to starting a company and then decide to jump in. I almost feel like it goes the other way usually. And I just think it's really cool because transparently, like I think some of these stories are the coolest ones, where it's like you were investing and you're seeing like brands you think can do really well. And then you're like, there's just a gap and I want to solve it, and you want to jump back in. That was one of my burning questions when you guys said yes to coming on the podcast, was just like, to be honest, why? I know, I run an agency and I know how hard it is to operate, and I see the brands that are trying to build these brands, and my background, I've seen a lot of that. You guys know that, and it's hard. So I'm just curious. I know you all have young kids and you're doing your own business endeavors. So I would just love to hear the early conversations, if you guys even remember, on how you guys decided, like, should we do this? Because I personally know how hard it is.
Yeah. I mean, I've said numerous times in the last decade, I would never start a food company. And I know how hard it could be to scale something like this and see success. And, food is tough. It's competitive. The margins are not as good as the margins aren't as good as they are in other industries. And I didn't imagine I would ever want to start something like Cadootz, but as I've grown my own brand and gotten to know like my community online and hearing like that they were having the same frustration that I'm having or was having as a parent of like feeding your children food that they want to eat, that you actually want to feed them. Sure. And when we launched Great Shit Ventures, our venture fund, we told our LPs we were going to find kids snacks. And we found a couple of amazing brands that we're really happy to be involved with, but we couldn't find that shelf-stable, salty, crunchy snack that like we were looking for. And our kids just like love those like munchy type of snacks. Like they don't want to just eat string cheese and meat sticks and protein bars to like get protein. Like it's not exciting for them. And I was sitting on our couch because Jordan and I were sharing an office, and I would just like sit in the family room sometimes for a little separation. And I walked from the couch to the office and I said to Jordan, I think we have to start a kid's snack brand. Like, I think that we have to do this. And he just looked at me like, oh, great. Another one of Rachel's ideas. Like, are we actually going to make this happen? And I had remembered we were walking at Expo East in Philadelphia, like when they used to have it. And we were walking to a happy hour. And I was like very pregnant with Cooper, our youngest. And I remember he said something to me along the lines of like, if you ever wanted to start something, like I would back you. And it always like stuck with me and Jordan. And as Kiva had mentioned a couple minutes ago, like we really align and like our values and like what we look for and the brands that we consume. And I think that having that experience and having the like team behind Cadootz made the idea of creating Cadootz less scary in some ways, because we know like there's a lot we don't know. Believe me, we're learning every day, but we're not coming in this like blind, like I think a lot of founders are, which, that could be a good and a bad thing because you don't really know what you're getting yourself into, which is great because it's a really intimidating space. But I think that we're going into this like very consciously and very methodically. It made it almost like less scary for us to pull the trigger and do it.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, it was funny looking into all your backgrounds, like Rachel, obviously you with all the kind of like, I would call it like insights from your own audience that I'm sure you get naturally. And then Jordan and Kiva just having like, I was kind of trying to summarize into like a financial backing, and what a business should look like if it's successful. That's a powerful combination because you hear from the ground floor of what consumers wanted. You guys are also parents, so you personally know and you get the pain and struggle, but then also what the business structure should look like. So it feels like you kind of have like the framework of what a great business could look like in food and beverage. And then it was funny too, because I was thinking back, Rachel and Jordan, I don't know if if you wouldn't know this, but like I came up through RX Bar. That was like my like CPG first taste of it.
No way.
And I was a part of so much of the struggle of, we tried so hard at the kids products, and we had 2 or 3 different iterations of the kids bars, and it wasn't stuck. And it was because we were trying to force RX bar into a kids category when it's just too sticky. At the end of the day, it was like kids didn't love it. And so kids is tough because at the end of the day, like if you want it to be healthy, it's got to taste good, has to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, good luck. And so I give you guys a lot of credit because you're solving a problem that I think honestly a lot of like successful brands even have tried to go after and have struggled in a lot of ways. Just an aside I thought of.
One of the early things that we kept going back to was the fact that your purchaser is a parent or a caretaker or an adult, but your consumer is really a kid. So you have to be able to communicate to 2 different parties that are really interested in 2 different things. Right? Parents want to make sure that the snack is, for the lack of a better word, healthy, right? Where it's going to meet the needs that they want for their children in terms of dietary needs. But the kid does not care about any of that, right? They just want it to taste good. It's going to make them excited and ultimately bring joy to them. So, we spent a lot of time making sure that we could solve those 2 problems. I think to your point, like RX Bar had a really successful adult product that wasn't solving for a kid's issue. Where we went about it, let's solve for the child's issue, but then also make the parent feel comfortable about what we're making.
Yeah, it was cool seeing. I was going through all the details you guys had laid out of like what makes the product differentiated. And you guys you just hit on so many of like the key, like honestly, like again, I work with Amazon mainly. So it's like things people are searching for. You're just like nailing them. Like obviously protein, you did a great job of even explaining it. Like the amount per serving, I think is actually something that some people miss. Organic whole ingredients, those are obvious ones. Seed oil free is on fire right now. Like there's just, it's an immense amount of search volume. And then nut-free, lunchbox safe. Obviously, I'm sure that's just like a whole. If you don't have that check mark, you probably miss out on a ton of consumers. So I just give you guys credit. Like you really went through and you checked. There's a lot of noise that I see brands. They launch products, a lot of like fancy things. And I actually wanted to give you guys credit. I thought you skipped over a lot of things that you like. I think are kind of not that important. You nailed the important ones. Like I thought you guys did a great job there. So
yeah,
I'll call that up.
I mean, when we sat down as a team and I laid out the like ground rules and like our morals and values, like truthfully, I thought Kiva was going to hang up the phone. It was so intense, like my list of specifications and requirements. And, we picked the ones that were like really like our ride or dies and the most important, which is still a very lengthy list. But we really wanted that organic, the protein, the no seed oils, and then like to fit the allergen aspect to this. And it wasn't easy to create that product. Like it took us 3 years from like the day that Cadootz was like an idea to actually like press like go and have our website like go live. And we did say like we can't be everything to everyone, but we really try our best to check all the boxes. And like we're even kosher. I didn't realize how hard it was for parents to find kosher snacks, and until people were messaging me on Instagram saying, is Cadootz going to be kosher? Is it kosher? And I'm like, oh, Jordan, we need to like look into doing this like kosher. Like this is so interesting. And we're really proud of the product that we created because it really does like fit the bill, and it also has amazing texture and taste, and kids don't lie. If the product tastes horrible, they're going to tell you. They're not going to politely continue to eat it and like, as an adult would. And we trialed the product on a lot of kids and families, and constantly we're asking for feedback from everything from the name of Cadootz all the way to the product. So thank you for recognizing.
Wow. Yeah, and good for you guys. I didn't know it took that long. Yeah. So you said 3 years from the time the 3 of you were like, okay, let's do this, to being able to announce it. I mean, walk the audience through that, because I have to imagine there's so many people who would have at some point over those 3 years been like, all right, F this, like this is not going to work, right? I'm sure you guys must have, because you all have your own career paths that you're all focused on other things too. So it'd been easy to just fold things up when it got hard. I'm just curious how you guys kind of worked through the 3 years.
It's kind of funny. The first year and a half was extremely slow, and I kept asking other entrepreneurs. I was like, is the beginning really like, we just felt like we weren't doing the right thing because we were like, what's going on? But it just takes a lot of time to sort of get some of that like really strong foundation set up. Like we definitely spent a lot of time finding the right R&D partner and just thinking about the brand and ethos, and like what Rachel said, laying down these ground rules around how we wanted the product to be, out in the world. The one thing I will mention is Rachel thought of these things around protein, seed oils, and all these things like 3 years ago. Before, like now, obviously everyone's trying to emulate these things. So like these aren't things that we're trying to follow the trends for. It's just things that we really, over those 3 years, really made sure that we stuck to what we wanted this brand to be, and honestly just not take shortcuts. And I think that's why it took so long.
We also kept like, I would find a product that would launch and I would like screenshot it and send it to Jordan and Kiva, and Kiva's exact response was like, I'm just like not worried about it. Like I'm just not worried
nice.
I'd be like, well, what if they get it out before us? And like now that we have Cadootz out, like it's created and we have our product, it just takes so long to perfect it that I'm so not concerned with anyone trying to do like what we're doing, because it's going to take them many years to get this off the ground. Like even just like the naming of the brand is so challenging, and like,
oh, I bet,
so long, and you're just constantly waiting for like one thing to the next. And we run 2 other businesses, like my food content website and etc. My brand partnerships, like that is a day-to-day business. Like that keeps me so busy every single day. So I think that having those other like focuses, and it's like Kiva's running a whole other fund. Like he none of us like need Cadootz. Like we need it as parents, but we don't like need it professionally. It's like truly like a passion that has like turned into our next career.
That I was going to say, that was one of my questions too, is it felt like from external, just reading everything you guys had posted and shared, it seemed like that. It seemed like you guys didn't need this. This was really like, hey, there's a problem, we want to go solve it. And the end goal is not necessarily financial. And it's not like we're going to have to live off this necessarily. So it sounds like that's true. It's awesome. And Kiva, it's funny when you, Jordan, Rachel, when you're talking about this, I'm looking at Kiva thinking Kiva's probably getting countless decks and knows all the numbers of all these other brands. He's like, yeah, guys, this is hard. We're fine. We got a plan. I mean, because Kiva, I'd love to hear your perspective. Yeah, as you guys are working through 3 years, I'm sure you're also seeing just so much of the landscape change. And you obviously know more than most people I know how hard it is to even get from point A to point B.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a common misconception that exists within consumer products that because you make your product typically at a contract manufacturer, that any company that has figured out a great product and brand could be copied by somebody relatively quickly, and that anyone could launch a brand. And I have always believed that so much rigor goes into developing a great product and figuring out how to manufacture that product and figuring out how to build an emotional connection with your consumer afterwards. I think this process has been incredibly eye-opening in how hard it is to actually reach product excellence. Most of who we are competing with are not the lineup of brands that are at Expo West. Our first product is a cracker. We're competing with Goldfish and Cheez-It, to be clear. I mean, that's what most Americans consume. And Goldfish and Cheez-It are solving for taste and price without really any nutritional constraints. Like,
yeah, they're trying to like fit a Costco.
Pretty much anything goes, as we're seeing. When you start adding constraints, it gets harder and harder to achieve product excellence. It gets harder and harder to achieve a product that a kid wants to eat, let alone choose over Goldfish.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that the standard that Rachel and Jordan set from the beginning is a kid's going to need to want to eat this, either be indifferent or even prefer this over Goldfish, which we've seen, which is something that we're so proud of now. To lay out the rules that we have and put on a ruler on the box with a lot of pride as to what the modern parent is looking for to really trust a brand. You're basically taking out like 99.5% of the things that Cheez-It and Goldfish get to do.
Yeah, true.
And it is so difficult to then turn that into a product that a kid is going to love, and even more difficult to turn that into a product that a parent who shops at Walmart and Target in the US is going to feel like they can afford and bring into their house. We're now on the other end of that, and we feel like we have like dug ourselves through the mud to get there. And it is so challenging that only when you've gone through it do you really realize that there's a moat behind you. And honestly, it's been really eye-opening to me. It's changed the way that I operate as an investor. It's changed the way I operate as a consumer. I have so much more empathy and respect for anyone who has gotten a product on shelf at a retailer across the country.
Oh, I bet for the three of you now, in hindsight, yeah, I bet you guys look at all your investments and now even looking at future ones, you probably, the three of you are like, oh, I have a whole different perspective and empathy and a whole list of adjectives you could say for the brands that you guys are thinking about or have invested in.
Yeah, I always say that, I would meet these startups who kind of just launched or getting, ready for launch, and they share their deck and some samples as an first time, as an investor before being an operator. You're like, okay, great. Thanks for sending me your deck and your samples. And I'm like, oh, wow, that took you 24 months to basically put that together.
Yeah.
Probably being unpaid to do it. So there's definitely a whole new respect and understanding for that. But from the investing side, like now we know so much more than I ever did, especially around operations and supply chain and manufacturing, that I would have never asked questions around. So I think it's actually made it probably a little bit more difficult to pull the trigger on some brand, just because now you have more things you want to check the box on. But I think between being an investor and operator, it's honestly for the good.
I bet. I can only imagine. Yeah. I mean, it's like just knowledge is power there. I think you guys probably also now too. I mean, you guys, I'm sure between the three of you, you probably had an idea of what it took to even develop a product and manufacture. But has that been, like, out of everything you guys have gone through the last 3 years, has that been probably the biggest eye opener of how complex that process is? It's just like bringing a finished box of Cadootz to life to your standards. Is that kind of the hardest thing?
The amount of like paperwork and behind the scenes that like Jordan really had to do for like all the certifications and like sourcing all of our ingredients and having the USDA organic team come to our home to assess us and the brand.
Oh, wow. They actually came to your house?
Yeah, twice. And, there's just and like Jordan can obviously speak more to this. And this is like really where his like skill set thrives, because like he is very thorough and like that, like I see paperwork and I'm like, okay, snooze, like I can't. I forwarded to Jordan. I'm like, okay, next. And like the amount of just like time and thoughtfulness and the curveballs that like, wait, what do you mean I have to do this in order to get this? Or we have to wait for this in order to order this? Like, it was really hard. And even sourcing our ingredients, the three of us tried, the milk protein? Like we use organic milk protein in our product, which like gives it protein, but also like the texture it adds is so fabulous compared to a hemp protein. And we were like, we can't even create the product. We can't even find the milk protein that fits the criteria of what we're looking for. And we got we're the only cracker in the country that's the clean purity. I always butcher this.
Clean Label Purity Award.
Clean Label Purity Award certified.
Okay.
And going through all of the ingredients in our product to like make sure it like meets the standards. Like there was just so many things that we just didn't realize were so hard. And even finding like a name that's not taken is really challenging.
Oh, I can imagine the name for sure. Getting all those certifications, it's gotta be expensive too. Right? There's got to be like an expense component that people probably don't share or talk about too much.
Yeah, no, each one is, it's basically like using like a registered, maybe it's not a registered trademark, maybe it's not the right word, but you're basically licensing out what their certification means. But also there's like a pretty rigorous process of, vetting all of your ingredients and, making sure the food safety things are in the right way. And, I think there'd be such an easy way to adulter so many products just because of like, if it looks like a raw flour, how would you know if it's organic or not? But like really making sure that the supply chain is being held to these high integrity standards is for us was super important. And I think it also just goes back to like us wanting to be a trusted name in the kid snacking space. Our goal for Cadootz is not to just be a cracker company. Like we want to be a kid snack company, and we need to earn the trust of our consumer and the parent. And we felt like a really good way to start was with these certifications to ensure that, it's not just us saying this product is gluten-free or we're using organic, but actually, put the label behind it.
As a consumer, when I pick up a product off of the shelf, like I don't look at the ingredients first. I honestly look at the front to see like what stamps of approval that they have. And then that brings me to the ingredient panel. So it was definitely we didn't skimp on.
That's amazing. I mean, I think that's probably something where, again, most founders, depending on their situation, whether it's resources, time, expertise, you could see how there could be so many corners cut, especially Kiva. I mean, what you were saying, like when you guys start to look at who you're competing against, you're like, geez, these guys are just, I mean, to be frank, I feel like my 9 months at Kellogg, I got to see a lot of that. And you're like, oh my God, there's just like, it's hard to keep a brand at the level of not compromising on taste, ingredients, quality when you start to move against some of the big players, because they just absolutely don't. They're all about the bottom line. So
yeah, when you were saying over 3 years that we must have felt like we wanted to quit, I would say we never felt like we wanted to quit. But what was tempting at times was there must be an easier way to do this. And that's why and it turns out there isn't, which is the big learning, but having the set of rules and values that are non-negotiable from the beginning, make sure that you don't stray off towards the shortcut. Because ultimately what we're trying to build is trust, right? I mean, you said it, having a product that kids actually like to consume is critical. You're never going to survive as a business without it. But everything that we're trying to do around that with our packaging, our brand, how we talk about ourselves, which labels we put on the front, all of that is trying to empathize and reach out to a consumer that doesn't have time to go build the solution themselves. They're a busy parent trying to live the lives of having a job, having kids at home, needing to navigate everything, and having kids that want to raid the pantry, and you want to feel okay with what they get when they make it in there. And so what we have tried to do and build around it is this perfect box of trust. Everything from the labels on the front to the ingredients on the side to the ruler that establishes our standards to the back where Rachel and Jordan talk as humans, not a gigantic multinational company that doesn't have a real person behind it, explaining that they get the problem that you, the consumer, is having. And so I think if you open yourselves up and try and take a shortcut at any step of that way, the consumer's smart enough, they'll see through it, they won't resonate, and they won't trust you as much.
And then you probably end up being too close to what you were set out to compete against, right? Totally. There's a huge fatal flaw there. So two other things that hit me right away was, number one, you guys said, we talk about flavor and you had a lot of families, a lot of kids try it. What was that process like? How did you think through that? How did you produce a product that was close enough to what a finished product could be, but also get enough feedback to feel validated that it was the right path that you were heading down? Could you walk the audience through a little bit of just how that worked and how you went about that?
It was tough. It was really tough. We knew we wanted a cheddar cheese cracker. That was going to be our first product. And I remember the three of us going out to our R&D team's office for our first official tasting and just being oh, we're obviously going to perfect this, this trip. It's going to be great. We're going to come home. We're going to have our product. We'll launch it in a few months, whatever. We go there and we try the product and we eat hundreds of crackers. We actually went out for a nice dinner that night. I think because we were craving nutrients after, honestly, because if you're eating endless cheese crackers for morning until night. And we came home, we then narrowed it to a few options, got those options, sent them out to our focus group, which we call the Cadootz crew, which is a group of 100 parents and kids that applied to be in this crew through my Instagram account, and sent it to them. And they had to choose between options A and B. Got their feedback. We then took all of the feedback and had friends, local friends, try it, narrowed it down, finalized the product. Then we started, and we were really excited. We're oh my God, we have it. We have our cheese cracker. And then after the cheese cracker was perfected, we would then figure out the other two flavors, which, we knew we were going to do ranch. And then we thought we were going to do another flavor that we did not launch. So then we start buyer meetings and we start going to retailers and we're talking about the product, we're sampling it. And then we'll start looking at the margins of the product and the COGS associated with this and how we're going to scale this and what we're actually going to list it at, sell it at, what price point we're going to sell it at in a store. And then three of us were standing at the fancy food show together and we got an email. We were shit, we have to go back and reformulate.
Oh, wow.
This isn't going to work. And it was almost someone was stabbing us. I really felt sick. I remember in the car ride home.
I'm proud about this.
I didn't. And I've said this story a few times this week, but I was. And
this is just because the price was going to be so high on shelf, I'm guessing?
The cost associated with creating the product is just, they're really high. You know, Kiva and Jordan truthfully looked at me and were like, we need to sacrifice something. And I was like, listen, we're not sacrificing anything. We sacrificed one thing, actually. We got rid of 3 vegetables that were in the product because, I mean, you're not going to depend on a cracker to like give you your vegetable serving. So if we had to pick something, like we nixed that and focused on like the other key attributes that I was not going to budge on. And we went back and reformulated and made tweaks to the product to get it to like where we wanted it to be. And it, thankfully for us, both the taste and the texture and then the cost associated with creating that product, it actually all came together in a more like amazing way that we could have even imagined. Like we had hemp protein in the product, which actually was like drying it out a little bit. And when we added the organic milk protein concentrate, I know this sounds crazy, but it added like a richness, like almost like a creaminess, which I know sounds weird in a cracker, but like that's the best way I could describe it. And
hemp's probably, it was hemp also, it's probably like a weird component, like to mask taste. I feel like that would probably be one that you'd notice. It'd be like dry and gritty.
The vegetables did well.
They like dried it out a bit. The vegetables,
it wasn't a bad cracker, but the one that is now, commercialized, so much better.
And then when we were doing the COGS reduction batch, my friend Erica came to our house because I was like a dealer of Cadootz. Like I'd bring them to the gym. I'd drop them off at houses. I'm like, hey, are you driving by my house at all today? Like come in to try like the latest iteration. And God bless my friends, truly, and my parents. Like they had so much patience with us during this. And my friend Erica was at our house and she tried this cracker, like the cheese cracker with like a lot less cheddar. And the 3 of us were like, wait, let's just make a sea salt. Like this actually tastes like a sea salt cracker. And I personally love sea salt crackers. So then we went back and used that like reducing the cheese and that whole fiasco of having to like reduce our COGS to then create another flavor, which
that's cool.
Wouldn't have even done. And then once those were perfected, then we went ahead and like made those changes within Ranch. And finally got to the point where we were very secure and excited by what we could launch.
Very cool. Yeah, it's amazing how sometimes like running into the headwind actually creates the opportunity. I mean, I feel like that's applicable to all kinds of facets of life. Did you, as you guys worked through that and you got feedback, at that point, how confident were you guys even at that stage, not final stage, but like partway through this 3-year period where you're like, I think we have something. I think this has been complicated. We're working through it. Kids love it. Like, did you guys start to see light at the end of that tunnel? How far into that 3 years do you think you were before you guys were like, okay, I think like we're not there yet, but we definitely can see where this could finish up and we think that we have something?
I think probably a couple months before launch, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
You're just so heads down you're basically just solving problem after problem. And then like hoping that the dominoes are falling in the right direction, because a lot of times you're making decisions without information, right? So you have to make the decision before you really know what the end result's going to be.
Sure.
And, I honestly felt like until we got into the manufacturer and was able to successfully roll out dough and get it to bake, at that moment, I was like, holy shit, like this actually is working. And when that cracker came out of a commercial bakery rather than like out of a R&D, like it's just rolled, it's mixed so much better, it's rolled so much better, it's cooked so much better that product tasted even better than the benchtop samples.
Oh, wow.
And at that point I was like, oh wow, like this is like, I think we have something here.
I was terrified about what it was going to be like to try the first one off the line because, I rightfully assumed that it would be different from what an R&D lab is making by hand. But I sort of assumed that the R&D lab making it by hand, it was like, made with love and cooked in their tiny little oven and like everything was fresh. So that would be the best possible.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was so worried the day I was like, open this box and it's just going to taste like an old version of that. Yeah. And I was blown away. Like that it's just like when you experience that and I gave it to my 2-year-old daughter and she was like screaming for more.
Oh,
it
wow.
Just like that was a wow moment of like, we really have something here. There's sort of a slow linear path to get to that, but that's like one of the big steps that gave me so much conviction that this is going to work.
Yeah, I could see that being like what a bummer that would be if you guys are like confident in it and you get the samples off the line and you're like, what the hell's this? This is not what what the R&D lab tasted like.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to our R&D team. I mean, they really, really helped shepherd us to that point, and they're like, we have 98% confidence that like this will work well, and hats off to them. They did they were able to work within our confines, and together as a team, we were able to produce something that we're all really excited about.
I don't think I was ever concerned. Like, I think I was more just...
Rachel had this the whole time.
No, like, I'm just like I don't know. I just think it's a really good group of people working behind this, and there's no reason why it shouldn't have at least gotten to that launch.
Yeah.
I think that when I knew that, like, I was like, oh, wow, like, I think this is like going to be something, is you're walking in the city, and we went to we had like a media day around, kind of by like the launch date in early January, and we were like walking to lunch, and I was like reading all the like posts of customers getting Cadootz in the mail and tagging us and like sending videos of like their kids eating it. And like, these aren't like people I'm friends with, like they're people like that I didn't know.
Paid for the product.
And I'm like, because it was one thing when we sold out the morning that we launched, like that was amazing. But then like, okay, great, all these people bought it, but is it actually going to taste good? Like, to them, are they going to like it? And when I started seeing that people were loving the product, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is proof that we're not the only humans that love Cadootz. Like, this is going to be awesome. And I remember saying to Jordan, I was like, I think this is really going to be something, Jordan. People bought the product and they're eating it. And like, this is really cool. Like, it's awesome to see.
That's kind of such a wild moment too. Just in general, like once you launch and you get real consumers you don't know that paid you money for a product that they needed or wanted, and then they're loving it. That's got to be such a, as founders and Kiva, I'm sure even from your side, like you've invested in so many brands and shared it, and I'm sure you share all the brands that you're always involved in, but that's something you guys created yourself, and then to have that's got to be such a cool feeling.
I'm really excited for the day that I'm like wherever I am and I see someone I don't know and they're like holding a box or a bag of Cadootz. Like, I'm waiting for that moment, because I used to work at a beverage company, and it was like when it was like a very like small startup, and then when I would like see like the empty bottles in someone's recycling bin, or someone drinking it wherever, I used to get really excited. And that's how I feel about our portfolio brands too. Like, when we used to live in the city in Hoboken, like, you could see everyone's trash on the sidewalk, which is
sure. Yeah.
But I used to go like love, like just like, oh, I wonder what they have. And they're like, I just like love to see what people are buying.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a really cool moment when we see it like out in the wild.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you, I'm sure you guys, we'll get into it in a second, but retail, like you just walking into a store and it's on an end cap or something. That's I'm sure that'll be crazy.
Yeah, I think the last part I would say about this is, I think it's important, and I think Kiva's been really good. Reminder of this is just like to celebrate these small like victories along the way, because you can just get so caught up in the day to day and just like keep like, okay, like products made, like now let's launch, now that we're launching, like let's sell into retail. I think it's just nice to like take a second and like yeah, it was great that we got it manufactured. Yeah, it was great that we were able to launch, and like celebrate those small milestones. Because otherwise it'll just be in like a grind literally every day.
Always. Yeah. Do you guys do anything when you have little wins? Do you guys like, I don't know, take a video or take a picture? I know me and my co-founder always try to do stuff like that if you can remember, because it's true. You like look back and like, oh wow, there were like a lot of wins too. Do all this crazy shit.
I definitely take a good amount of like pictures and videos. I think that like I'm really bad at celebrating little wins in general. Like, I remember Kiva when we were launching, it's like, are we doing a launch party? I was like, no. Like, we don't have, I was like, I'm allocating our funding elsewhere right now. Like, we have, like, until we have something to really celebrate. But then looking back, it's like, we did have something to really celebrate. We just spent 3 years creating.
Yeah, it was like 3 years. Yeah.
I know, but I think I'm always so like head down, trying to like move to the next stage. So I think it's good I document things, because then I look back and I'm like, oh wow, I remember that, and like it's nice to see. And it's also made for like great content for our Instagram, like as we're sharing things. But one of my personal, I guess, and professional goals is to start celebrating little wins a bit more.
I think some of what we try to do also is like recognizing that Jordan and Rachel live in New Jersey. I live in California. We talk all the time, but we only see each other a few times a year. and trying to make the most of that time together and do like team building dinners. I mean, that kind of stuff goes a long way. Because there is a tendency to just get into like, talk about the problem to be solved. There's always a new problem to be solved. You don't often breathe, relax, and look back at what you figured out. So I think we have to figure out ways to do that, but we all are people that are constantly looking forward at the next thing. And, Rachel and Jordan, to their credit, are building this in the middle of also building a family and building a life and, renovating their house. Like, there's so many things going on in their lives at the same time that, like, when there's a customer service complaint, like, that's just one more thing to figure out.
Right.
The day that we got accepted, I feel like I was getting accepted into college, got the email from our first retail partner that we were going to be launching on shelves. Kiva was like frantically texting and calling us. Why did you answer your email? Answer your text. Like, I was like, oh my God, what happened? Like, we were at our realtor's office signing and closing on a house. And I was like, we're closing on a house. What's up? And like, we had someone coming in to we bought a 90-something-year-old home. So we had someone coming in already that day to make all these changes. And it was that exact hour of us signing our lives away for our next house that we get the call that we're in our first retailer. And we're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And it's just one thing after another. I mean, I announced the launch of my second cookbook 2 days before we launched Cadootz. Yeah, like, there's just always something going on. And then like all of our kids have winter birthdays. Like, it hasn't been dull.
So it's just like bam, 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 bam.
No, I'm designing pennies right now for my 5-year-old's Color Wars party in 2 weeks, because it's the day I get back from Expo West. Like, there's just never a lull.
It does seem like, I mean, I laugh because I think at least people who are in the CP, I don't know, maybe it's just, I'm sure every industry has its own version of what we're talking about, but it's like someday if there's ever a retirement date, I don't like, people we're gonna be all bored. Like, I think we're all so used to like running around with our hair on fire. I don't know if anyone can ever actually stop.
I think I'm going to be so amazing when I'm retired. I'm going to play Mahjong. I'm going to learn how to play tennis. I'm going to read a book.
And launch a new brand probably. Because I feel like we're all addicts. There's no way.
I know my mom says to me all the time, she's like, you don't know how to be bored, because I constantly have something going on. But I think that I sleep like a rock, and one day I will be bored. It's going to be glorious. Or I'll nanny my
maybe.
kids.
And my mom says that Rachel does not let the grass grow underneath her feet.
Hey,
that's right.
You know what? You couldn't have a family, launch a brand, do all these other things all three of you are doing if that wasn't the case. I mean, hats off to all you guys. These are the big questions I had. So I'm loving where this has been going. The one other one that I think, if you're someone external, you'd be really curious. And again, this question is going to come from, because I've worked with so many brands over the years at different levels and scales. You guys all have very, in my opinion, like from getting to know you a little bit today and just your backgrounds, like very obvious areas of expertise. And I can feel, honestly, even on this podcast, just like the synergies that you guys bring together. Were there obvious gaps that you guys found right away and were like, hey, we don't know how to do this or that, and you brought anyone else in? Is there anyone else on the team? Are you guys thinking about expanding? I'm always curious when anyone launches a product or a service. Obviously you guys all bring expertise to the table, but inevitably there's usually something that you guys feel like you're going to end up expanding headcount or AI or whatever it is nowadays. Curious how you guys are thinking about Cadootz, like the next phase now that you've launched.
Yeah, I was pretty adamant about doing everything ourselves to start, because I feel like there's no better way to know what to do than do it yourself. And over those 3 years, I just felt like we had some time to really make some mistakes, but really get that hands-on experience. And I'm so happy we did do it that way in the early days, because I think all three of us now know so much more than we would have known if we just continued to outsource. But I would say that the two areas, well, I guess there's 3 areas, but I'll talk about 2 of them. One was just making sure that we had someone who really knew the retail landscape. I think we've seen so many brands make mistakes around just pricing structure and making sure that you're being priced properly to go, to any retailer in the country. So Kiva introduced us to a partner of his that we now have on as an advisor to kind of help us guide on the retail side. And then as we were expanding and got into our first retailer, we realized like operations, which is something that I focus on, is more than just a one-man job who's honestly never done it before. So we've brought on another part-time person to sort of help scale the operations side. I'll then kick it over to Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us really are the ultimate like balance for one another. We're like, we all have very different skill sets and expertise, which made it for the first 3 years like a bit easier. I think in some ways, where like it was very obvious like who handles what and like what we're doing, and we didn't have to like really outsource like all too much. But we have we had a branding team that helped us like design the packaging and the logo and really get that off the ground, and like our lookbook, like our brand lookbook and the colors and this, and they were like very patient and very thorough with us. Jordan then built our entire website himself.
Nice. There you go.
Which is pretty impressive. Then we have like our PR team, which are two local to us moms actually that have been in the industry, which was like
Cool.
really exciting. And they were like, super eager and have done an amazing job for us. And then we are looking right now to hire our first full-time employee, because as we're gearing up for our first like nationwide launch in a retail store, we're recognizing that like we cannot do that all ourselves and like see the success that we want to see there. So we're focusing right now on building the infrastructure to really help us with that launch, which is really exciting. And like, you know, I'm of the belief where you have to surround yourself with people that like know more than you know and are smarter than you. And that's really what we're focusing on. I also feel like an HR person right now because I'm interviewing, which is not. Once Kiva told me I'm an HR liability. So like
Flipped.
Because I'm just too much fun.
I think it was a walking HR violation.
I'm a walking HR violation.
And now you lead it. That's a
yeah.
I'm glad that's public now.
No one wants me to lead it. But I am interviewing to join the Cadootz team. So we're definitely like lining up our team in the next few weeks to help us as we scale.
I think what I recognized across the portfolio of companies that we've invested in and the wide variety of founders that we've met is many of the best founders do a good job of delegating, but are never out of touch with really critical things happening in their business.
That's a great point.
I think that starts with building into the DNA of the company from the beginning that the people operating it understand the core functions and understand it via wading through the ambiguity and doing it themselves. And so there are many times that we would have been tempted to just like hire someone to do ops for us rather than learn ops and therefore understand what we really needed in order to jump to best in class. I think that has been built into the DNA of our company such that we will understand the complexity of the business as it grows. It also makes us, I think, more scrappy and efficient. There are a lot of companies that start paying for answers to questions rather than actually building capabilities. And, you know, I think Jordan is probably the most obvious case of this in building the operational side. Like he has climbed over so many hurdles through the process that we now have a really intimate understanding of how to build and scale a product that meets these really difficult standards that we never could have got to if we had tried to hire for the answers or outsource this part of our business.
That's a great point. And I think that's probably something that, God, I don't know, Kiva, you would know more than me, but that has to be such a flaw of so many small, young CPG brands. You think you just have to hire talent versus probably not a direct one-to-one, but I actually heard, I'm sure you guys know NVIDIA, but the CEO, Jensen Huang, he gave a whole thing I listened to recently where he basically has almost every function within NVIDIA reports directly to him still. And so he talks about how many emails he goes through a day, but he's like, I want to know every problem. Like, I'm not solving every problem, but I'm involved in every problem. And it's really interesting because you can see how so many companies like that becomes, the founders just they don't really understand the big burning issues anymore. And it happens sometimes really quick. And you kind of question, like, I think you still have to be involved. Maybe you're not pulling the levers on every little thing, but there's a lot of value in you guys being involved in all the little processes and knowing what's happening.
That was a huge, like, a huge part of Cadootz is like, this is like mission driven. This was like this is like my other baby, my idea. And like, I didn't want this to be another brand that like a influencer just stamps their name on and then like lets a team run everything. Like, I almost feel like I'm like too in the weeds with this, where like I just like have to shut off from time to time, which I don't know how to do. But Jordan and I and someone from our PR team were like literally building influencer kits last week, like building boxes, using the tape, like packing all the tissue paper. Like we're doing that all ourselves. And I think it's something that's like it's like humbling. And it's also we are like very lean. And like, if we have to spend money, like we want to spend it on something that like we're not able to really do ourselves right now.
Sure. I give you guys a lot of credit for that. I mean, I know it was funny on your website. That was one of the things you guys called out. Like, is this basically an influencer brand or are you involved? And I was like, that's great. What a good thing to throw right on the FAQs. That's so smart.
Thank you for noticing.
Yeah, of course. Okay. With a couple minutes left, well, I know you guys are very busy people, want to be cognizant of your time. As far as where people can buy Cadootz, your website, which I'll put in the show notes, where else are you guys going to be available? If you can't say yet, that's fine. But I always want to plug where people are going to be able to find it.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. So we are on our website, cadootz.com. We're also on Amazon, and we are gearing up to launch in nearly 2,000 retail doors starting in June, which is really exciting. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So follow along at Cadootz Snacks and, join our newsletter list. We don't spam you. I promise. We like barely send emails out right now. But we are going to be launching in June. So it's a really good time to find Cadootz in shelves then. And we're launching like an exclusive product at the retailer as well.
Oh, wow. Love that. Very cool. I'll definitely circle back and we'll reshare this when you guys do that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. So everyone listening, we'll put that in the show notes. Last question with a couple of minutes. I love to ask, Kiva might remember this. I don't know. I'm a nerd of this kind of stuff. So I always love to ask founders because you guys always have great or funny answers to this. But I'm like a productivity. I don't know. I nerd out on it. I'm always curious how people think about their goals. So like whether that's an annual goal, way further out for your family, whatever it is, all the way down to what shit do you have to get done today? Like what, the three of you now too, because you're running a business together remotely. So it's even a more important question. How do you guys keep track of all the stuff that has to get done, the goals, and like how do each of you go about, like, are you a pen and paper person, a planner? Do you have apps? Do you share technology? Like how do you guys manage Cadootz and what you have to get done?
This like really awesome app on my phone called Notes that the iPhone comes with, and I write everything in the notes. Like everything is in there, and I have a note for anything from like my professional to-do list to my personal to-do list to our childcare's itinerary for the week to our grocery list to content ideas. Like everything is in there. And then all of the like Cadootz, I would say like things are on Google Drive. That's like the best way. I tried using Trello with some people that on our content creation team. And I'm like, guys, I am too old for this. Like I cannot use Trello. I'm pretty basic with that.
I like that. Notes is gangster.
We use the Google Suite for our Cadootz email. So I'll use, I just have an old Excel sheet that I've been more or less using for 10 years that each day of the week. And then you put in what you have there and you can shift it over.
So you have an Excel sheet of 10 years of what Jordan's been working on?
I've used the same sheet, but each week I just delete or just carry stuff over.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking like that's a cool thing to upload someday to open the Chat GPT and be like, what could I have done? That's just a ton of data. That's wild.
So that would be scary. So I use that. And then actually the person that we brought on for operations is like a G Suite master. So he's been showing me all the tricks of like, you can put like tasks and like at people to give them to tasks. So I'm starting to do some crash course on being more involved in that, which I think will be helpful as now we have partners all over the country that we're working with, and you're not physically together. So I think that'll be something I'll focus on building out as well.
I'm a bit more high tech. I have this company called Post-it that I just basically write all over my desk, and whenever one of the Post-it notes isn't getting enough love, I get an all caps message from Jordan or Rachel telling me that I haven't done something yet in our group chat. And
that's a good system. I like that.
Yeah. The all caps is definitely coming from me. But yes.
you guys all laugh, but you'd be shocked at like I would say 98% of the people I've had on this podcast have very similar answers. Like, it's so funny because there's all these fancy tools and no founders I've ever met use them. Like, they're just, everyone's simple. And I wonder if that's a key thing that over time I've learned the last few years. I think some of the most successful people that have gotten stuff done, it's the simpler, the better.
Yeah.
Just write it down and do it.
Exactly. Just get it done. Well, thank you guys for taking the time. Really appreciate it. It was great to have all three of you on. And I'm excited for you guys and this journey you're on. I know I'm pumped to get Cadootz in the house and get Goldfish out. And I hope everyone listening gives the brand a try.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely, guys.
Great to
Best
see
of
you.
luck. Thank you. Good to see you too.